Hello everyone, Minky here with the next deck profile video. This time it's based on normal monsters, and just a few things before I do start. What I have changed the sort of the recording dimensions for this video, so I'm just testing it out to see if it's any better or not than the ones I did before, and if it works out, then great, and if it doesn't work out, then I'll probably go back to what I used to do before. It's just to make things. If this does work, it'll make things easier for when I do record, because I have to set up different dimensions for different videos. So it's just a matter of like if I can get away with doing it this way, great. If not, then I'll have to just suck up and try and do the old way. But fortunately, I do have the regions written down, so in case for whatever reason this doesn't work, then I can still go back to the old way without too much hassle. Alright, so normal monster deck then. So let's start with the boss monster, that being Thrustosaurus, a level 6 normal monster with if I can show it off, 2600 attack and 1700. Well, it's kind of blurry anyway, but but 2600 defense and 2600 attack and 1700 defense. So not too bad for a one tribute monster. Again, another monster that's better than Summon Skull technically, without the fusions anyway. So well, I say better. I mean, I'm obviously not including the type and true. Well, in terms of attack and defense, this card is better. That's about it. And that's the boss monster. That's the one and only boss monster, but I might make another monster or boss monster later, as you'll see. Alright, time for the normal monsters of the deck. And by deck I mean, or normal monster, I mean the main portion of it. The first monster is Angel Trumpeter, a level 4 plant type tuner. Yeah, with 1900 attack and 600 defense. So not bad for a level 4 monster, because it's 1900 attack, and it's a tuner, and it's level 4. So that's really nice. It is Earth plant type, so it's not the greatest type, but hey, it's level 4 tuner, it's better than nothing. It's at least a level 4 tuner. You just gotta figure out how to fit it into places. Really, that's really it. 'Cause I know there's like thingamajig, not light wave tuning, photon lead I think it's called, where you best summon a level 4 light monster from your hand, which that's kind of a shame. But next up we have Aquamador. This guy is 1200 attack and 2000 defense, so a war monster, pretty nice war monster. That's basically it. You're going to see quite a bit of monsters like this in the deck, so prepare for that. Next up is 2 copies of Beckoned by the World Chalice, a normal warrior type monster with 1800 attack and 0 defense. You're also going to see a lot of monsters like this as well, where they have just a good attack stat or a good defense stat. Not always the other, but you're going to get like good stats. And I mean, it's a normal deck. It's like you either go with cards. Well, you either go with cards like the next one I'm about to show off, or you go off with cards with good attack or good defense, and that's it. Specifically level 4s, but level 5 and higher sometimes do work out. Like the next one, 1 copy of Blue Eyes White Dragon. Now this card, this needs no introduction really. It's just quite a powerful monster. It's one of the better, well-known ones. It's pretty obvious why, because of the anime and whatnot. So I won't really go into detail about it, but obviously this is a high power monster. It's here for its own reasons and whatnot. So it's it is what it is. You'll see a few cards. There's a few support cards in the deck for it. I don't know if I moved them all to the side deck or not, which is another thing I'll get into in a bit. But there you go, Blue Eyes Dragon. Alright, next up is 1 copy of Chamberlain of the 6th Samurai, 2000 defense, and a level 3 monster. That's it. I'll try and speedrun through this one because this one's going to be a lot of repeats basically. Next up is Charcoal Apache, and by repeats I mean obviously like high tackle, high defense or whatever. This guy is level 1 with 2100 defense, so he's pretty nice. Next is 7 Coloured Fish, which was one of my favourites as a kid because I always kind of liked rainbow coloured monsters and whatnot. And this guy is 1800 attack, so he's pretty good. You know, so not only is he, you know, a really nice colour if you will, but he's also pretty nice on his own, so it's not too bad. Next up is 3 copies of Dark Blade. This guy has 1800 attack, and also is, I don't think he needs more introduction than that really at the minute. Maybe next time in version 2, but, you know, also no, but we'll see. Next up is 1 copy of Dark Magician. Again, this guy needs no introduction, so I won't really go into him, but again, he's basically like a second Blue Eyes, if you will. He's a high powerful monster, and you know he's there for because he's a normal monster, so you know it is what it is kind of thing. Next is Fire Kraken. This monster is 1600 attack and 1500 defense, so he's not great. He's probably the weakest monster in the main deck at the moment. Well, in the non-side deck, I should say at the moment. But the main reason why he's here is because I just wanted to bring attention to the fact that he's a fire monster's aqua type. So he's pretty cool, I think. Yeah, because of that. Because it's rare you get 2 conflicting types like that. You know, you know, fire and water or light and dark, you know, kind of thing. It's well, at least it is for fire true monsters, I think, and water monsters to mix and match like that. So, you know, I thought I'd show them off anyway, just for the sake of argument. Next up is Flame Manipulator. Now this isn't actually anything good on its own, and I'll get into him more later on as we go into the video, so just keep him in the back of your mind for now. Next up is a copy of Gemini Elf, who has 1900 attack, and that's it. Another beta, if you will. Next, I'm going to move my lights because I'm struggling here with the lights. Is Gene Wart Warwolf. Another high attack beta. This guy has 2000 attack, so there you go, another nice little monster there. Next up is 2 copies of Giant Soldier Stone, another defender, so yeah, that's another one. Next one is Gladiator Beast Andal, another beta. This guy's 1900 attack points, and he's a Gladiator Beast monster, so there's that as well to keep in mind as well. So you know, it's something I guess keep that in the back of your mind, but keep that even further back than Flame Manipulator, you know, as you'll see in a bit. But yeah, pretty cool monster right there, so he's not too bad. Next up is Hunter Dragon, who is a level 3 monster with 1700 attack, and I figured I'd put him anyway, or keep him in anyway, because it's a level 3, you know, so he's kind of like, he's like a level 3 version of Gene Wart Warwolf kind of thing, so yeah, I figured I'd keep him in. Plus he's a dragon, so, you know. Next up is one of my favourites. It's Insect Knight. He has 1900 attack, so you know, pretty nice monster, pretty powerful monster, and he's pretty cool. I think he's a pretty underrated monster, personally. So there's that. Next up is 3 copies of Lajin. I swear this guy's in every one of my decks. That's what it feels like anyway sometimes. But yeah, 3 copies of Lajin, 1800 attack, so he's a pretty nice beta. He's in the anime, and I've also got 2 different pictures of him, so that's pretty cool. So I don't think that means anything in the grand scheme of things as well, by the way. Like, I don't think, like, if you were to play this card, I think having multiple different pictures of them doesn't make a difference. It's still limited to 3 and whatnot. I don't see why it wouldn't be, but, you know, just food for thought, I guess. Next up is 4 copies of Luster Dragon, but one of them is Luster Dragon number 2, so it's fine. Yeah, Luster Dragon, well, Luster Dragon and Luster Dragon number 2. So this blue one isn't Luster Dragon number 1, it's just Luster Dragon, and Luster Dragon number 2 is number 2. So there's technically a number 1 out there that we don't have, so, you know, Maybe it's that red one that looks like exactly like the blue one, except it's red and whatnot, and probably has a blue background because Lost Dragon number 2 has a green background. So a little weird, but it's what it is. Next up, we have Masaki, the legendary swordsman. Flame manipulator earlier. Yeah, you probably know what I'm going to go with this, or where I'm going to go with this. So he's here. But obviously I'll get to that when we get to that. Next is Mechanical Chaser, all one word. This guy's got 1850 attack, so it's pretty cool. It's pretty powerful. It's not as powerful as all the other monsters, but he's still, he's in the middle, because he's 50. And this guy does, I do have a bit of nostalgia with this because I remember watching a Let's Play of a Yu-Gi-Oh game. I can't remember which Yu-Gi-Oh game, but I remember watching a Yu-Gi-Oh game Let's Play, and this was one of the cards that the LP used. So that's and I regret not remembering where the LP is and what game it was on, but it's pretty cool, I think, and hopefully I can find it again someday. But at least I remember this, so in a way it's kind of nostalgia. So I probably should put that in my nostalgia deck, to be fair. Next up is Mech Knight Avram, another beta monster, so pretty nice there. Next up is Opticlops, another beta with 1800 attack points. Next is Red Eyes Dragon, or Red Eyes Bee Dragon. This card is basically just another Blue Eyes or Dark Magician, just a high powerful monster. I think it's just the weakest one I've got in deck out of all the 2 tribute monsters, so there's that. Next is one copy of Sabersaurus, another high attacker, and this time 1900 attack on a 0 tribute monster, so pretty nice. This one's kind of cool, I think. It's Suppression Collider. This is basically like the Cyberse version of Blue Eyes Red Dragon, if you will, or they made like a bunch of like high powerful normal monsters. Sometimes they did repeat, like I know they had like Dark Magician and Cosmo Queen, I think, for Spellcaster, but these two were but like I know they made at least a bunch of like different like high powered normal monsters. I think Rabbit Dragon was the dragon type one, so Blue Eyes isn't the dragon one, even though you'd think it would be. It's Rabbit Dragon, I would imagine. In this case, it's Suppression Collider. I might have a few others, but I'm pretty sure. I think Wing Weaver is the fairy one, but I know there's like a bunch of different like normal monsters that are just high power monsters. So and this guy is pretty nifty. I think is. I figured I'd put him in just for the sake of him being a normal monster. Alright, next up is 3 copies of Trans-Domestic Swordsman. This guy is 2600 attack and 200 defense, so he's basically an Earth Spellcaster type version of Frostosaurus, the boss monster. The only difference being that he's got 200 defense as opposed to 1700 defense. And it's a pity he's not a fire monster, because I know they have a lot of support if they have 200 defense. But, it is what it is. And this is the other guy that I'm thinking of making also a boss monster like Frostosaurus. But obviously Frostosaurus kind of beats him out a little bit simply for having more defense. So, there's that. Next, we have Force Raider. Another high attack monster, 900 attack, so there you go. Next is What-Tail Dragon. This one's pretty cool. He's level 6, 2500 attack, so maybe not the best, but he's he's weaker than Summoned Skull, because he's got 1000 defense as opposed to 1200, but still a pretty nice card. He's a 1 tribute 2500, so if anything, it's basically just 3 extra Summoned Skulls in a way. So if you just look at it as a 2500 attack beta, if you will, so it's that. Next, we have 3 copies. Oh, that's the last card. Last of all, we have 3 copies of X-Saber Anu Piranha, which is an 1800 attack point monster. So there you go. So that's that. And yeah, all of that was normal monsters. Now, time for the effect monsters. I mean the ritual monsters. I mean the pendulum monsters. I mean, yeah, there's actually no other monsters in the deck. Well, no other main deck monsters anyway. It's now spell card time. The first one being Beacon of White. This is obviously Blue Eyes with Dragon support, and obviously I've got the Blue Eyes in the deck, so... and this does not work, because I need to have 3 or more Blue Eyes monsters in the graveyard, so it does not work, so I need to take this out and put it in the side deck. But, its effect basically is, if you do not control another Beacon of White, and you have 3 or more Blue Eyes monsters in your graveyard, target one of them, special summon it, but its effect is negated. Also equipped with this card. When this card leaves the field, banish the equipped monster. Other monsters you control cannot attack. Also, if you have any number of Blue Eyes monsters in your graveyard, the equipped monster can attack up to that number of times during each battle phase. So obviously, like, that means obviously if you've got 0, that means its effect is inactive, therefore you get 1 attack. But everyone else still can't attack though. If you have 1 Blue Eyes monster in the graveyard, then its effect is active, but you only have 1 attack anyway, so it makes no difference really. If you have 2 in the graveyard, that's obviously 2 attacks, and you should have 2 in the graveyard, supposedly, or at least 2 in the graveyard, supposedly, because obviously, like it says, you need 3 or more Blue Eyes monsters in the graveyard. So therefore, when you monster reborn one with this effect, that's obviously going to down it to 2 or more. So therefore, you'll have at least 2 attacks there, so that's not too bad. Next up is a Blue Eyes card that does work. It is Burst Stream of Destruction. If you control a Blue Eyes with Dragon, destroy all monsters your opponent controls. Blue Eyes with Dragon cannot attack the turn you activate this card. So, pretty nice card right there. It's, it is what it is. And, it's, yeah. Next up is Dark Factory of Mass Production. 3 copies of it specifically. Target 2 non-monsters in your graveyard, add those targets to your hand. So, really nice card right there. Gets you some more non-monsters. And finally is White Elephant's Gift. Send 1 face-up non-effect monster you control to the graveyard, draw 2 cards. So this is really nice. You can kind of play it off with Burst Stream of Destruction, destroy all opponent's monsters and then tribute your Blue Eyes to, draw 2. And you're not going to be able to attack directly with that Blue Eyes anyway, so, or at all during that turn with Blue Eyes, so might as well. That is another thing though about Burst Stream of Destruction, is that if you tribute the Blue Eyes and then bring it back, it still can't attack that turn, because it's kind of like the way it's written is that you don't target the Blue Eyes and then have every monster your opponent controls destroyed, and then it says that target can't attack. It specifically says as long as you control the Blue Eyes Dragon, you can activate it, but then any and all Blue Eyes Dragons can't attack. So even if you have 3 Blue Eyes on the field, all 3 can't attack. So there's that. Alright, time for the traps. First of all is Backup Soldier. Activate only if there are 5 or more monsters in your graveyard. Add up to 3 non-effect monsters with 1500 or less attack from your graveyard to your hand. So this is really nice and for a normal deck, because obviously basically all of them are non-effect monsters, so it's pretty cool. That's so it's basically a +2, because you got to get 3 back, so and you're gonna have plenty of monsters to give anyway, probably, so they're all gonna be normals. Next up is Birthright. It's basically Call the Hunter but for normal monsters. You activate it by targeting a normal monster in your graveyard, special summon it in face of adaptation. When it leaves the field, when this card leaves the field, destroy a monster. When that monster leaves the field, destroy this card. So it's basically a worse Call the Hunted and only for normal monsters. Because if you lose the monster, you lose this card. Whereas, well, I say that, but I'm only thinking it's worse in the sense of, technically it's better, because with Call the Hunted, you can supplement the downside by, you can supplement the downside of Call the Hunted by tributing it for Uriah. But for this card, obviously doesn't have that. But in this deck's not going to have Uriah because it's an effect monster, so I can't include it. So, in a way, the fact that this card destroys itself, even regardless of how the monster leaves, is a benefit, if anything. Speaking of Call the Hunted, we got a copy of Call the Hunted. So basically, in a way, this is basically like an extra Birthright rather than the other way around. So, because it's just the worst birthright in this deck, to be fair, because it's, like I said, it lingers if your monster isn't destroyed, so, you know. And finally, the final trap card is First Aid Squad. Target one normal monster in your graveyard, add it to your hand. When a normal monster is destroyed in battle, you can special summon this card from your graveyard in defense position as a normal monster. Yeah, because normal monsters and whatnot. Warrior type, level 3, 1200 attack and 40 defense. Which I think is the same as Marauding Captain, except obviously it's an event monster. This card is not treated as a trap card. You can only use this effect of First Aid Squad once per turn. It's summoned this way, it banishes card when it leaves the field. So it's really nice. It's you know, it's really nice. I wonder if if you have I don't know what it's called, but I know there's a card out there that prevents banishing. So I wonder if you can use that card to basically have this card special summon itself every time it destroys itself, if you will, kind of like an infinite loop kind of thing. You know, a 2-card infinite loop. Alright, finally, it is time for the extra deck. And this is it, Flame Swordsman. So, Flame Swordsman is obviously a fusion between Flame Manipulator and a Miraculous Snow Swordsman. So, you know, I thought I'd put him in here because he is a non-effect monster, so I figured he's good in here and whatnot. So, you know, he's pretty nice card. It's not, well, I say pretty nice card. It's a pretty bad card, but it's something. It's a start, you know. And it's obviously Flame Swordsman of all things. It's got the anime presence, so yeah, there's that. And yeah, that's the deck. That is my normal deck for now. So the thing I wanted to go into specifically about Flame Swordsman is that obviously this is the restriction deck, so obviously this is supposed to be normal monsters only kind of thing. And originally I was thinking, well, Flame Swordsman is a normal monster technically, or at least he's a non-effect monster, therefore he works in this deck because he doesn't have an effect, you know. And then I started wondering with my other decks. Sometimes you'll have cards that are questionably normal monsters or questionably level 1, if you will. I know there's a level 1 monster, I think it's called Darklon, where you special summon, you can, where I think when they're summoned, they'll turn everyone to a dark monster you control and increase all their levels by 1. So he's a level 1 monster, but he does increase his level, so he's questionably a level 1 monster, if you will, if that makes sense. I mean, obviously he's actually a level 1 monster, but he changes his level, so when it comes to a level 1 deck, do you include him or not? You know? And that got me thinking, maybe I could do this. Maybe instead of splitting these decks up into 3 different decks, of 2 different decks, sorry, restriction and non-restriction, maybe I could do, maybe I could split up into 3 decks instead. The first one being purely level 1, or purely normal, or purely, you know, whatever the restriction is, right? So purely restriction, right? Second one is a questionably restriction, so monsters like Darklon can go in a level 1 deck, and, you know, that kind of thing. Or not or, and the third one can be supportive level 1 deck, supportive level, you know, supportive normal deck, supportive, you know, zero attack deck, you know, stuff that doesn't have, the Breed Dragon is a supportive zero attack monster, because, yeah, it doesn't have zero attack, but you can special summon monsters, you can special summon level, you can special summon monsters with zero attack through his effect, so he's a supportive zero attack monster, if you will. Junk Synchron is a supportive level 1 monster kind of thing. He supports level 1 monsters because he can bring back anything that's level 2 or below. You know what I mean, you know, so that's what I'm thinking of doing in the future, is making, instead of a restrictive and non-restrictive deck, I think I'm going to change it to, I can't even remember what the 3 were called, purely restrictive, questionably restrictive, and supportive restrictive, if you will. So, you know, obviously I can't just say oh, put the Blue Dragon in here and then let's just randomly put Stardust Dragon in there or whatever. I mean, I guess I could put Stardust Dragon in, but because he is the Blue Dragon plus 4 level 1s, you know. But I can't just put anything in there and say it's part of level 1 deck, you know. I can't just put in, I don't know, I can't just put in like a rank 12 in there for the, or rank 8, you know, for example, if you will. You know, I can probably put in 5-headed dragon, because I'm sure there's at least two level 1 dragon type monsters, if you will. And he's questionably supportive, you know. I guess maybe I could split him into 4 decks, you know, with the third one being, you know, supportive, you know, like the breed dragon for level 1s and whatnot, and then a 4th one being questionably supportive. You know, it's like 5-headed dragon could be questionably supportive for level 1s, because he can still use 5 level 1 dragons to summon him. So, you know, but he doesn't require outright level 1 monsters. You can use level 2 monsters, or level 4s, or 5s, or whatever. You can use the 5-signer dragons if you wanted to bring them out. That kind of thing. That's the kind of thing I'm thinking of with this, is splitting up into, instead of 2 decks, splitting it up into 3 or 4 decks. With, you know, in those formats I mentioned, you know. Any decks I've built so far, I've already built the 4 decks already, plus the 5th one, which is 0 attack and defense, I think. Already? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's 0 attack and defense. So those 4 decks, I'll still show them off. The restrictions and non-restriction versions, I'll still show those off because I've already started it, I might as well finish it, kind of thing. But I think as well, what I'll do is, once I've done all that, once I've shown all these off, then I'll start making an effort to change them over and swap them into, you know, into these 3 or 4 ideas I've got. So I definitely want to split up into 3 different decks, you know, but I don't know if questionably supportive should be its own deck model as well, kind of thing. Like 5-headed dragon is a level 1 questionably support monster, if you will. And that's another thing as well, as I mentioned before, I'm pretty sure I mentioned this before, how, like, so obviously, like I said, I'm going to split these up into 3 or 4 decks, restrictive, you know, purely restrictive, you know, the 4 things I just said, supportive and whatever. I am thinking as well of, I'm still want to do combination restriction decks, so like I'll make a deck that's full of monsters with 0 attack and defense, so they've got to have 0 attack and 0 defense, or monsters that are 0 attack and level 1, you know, or 0 attack monsters that are normal monsters, you know, that kind of thing. I'm still going to do that. I'm still going to do, you know, out of these 4 decks that I've got, you know, and I'm going to do all 4 sorts of combinations together, or all 6 combinations together, you know, normal, 0 attack, you know what I mean. I'm going to do all, I'm going to then still do all 4 triple combinations, which is, you know, normal 0 attack and 0 defense, normal 0 attack level 1, normal 0 defense level 1, and 0 attack 0 defense level 1 kind of decks. So I'm going to do those, and I'm still going to do the, you know, all 4 together kind of restriction deck. Right, I'm still going to do all that, but also I'm going to do them with these restrictions, with these 4 different formats as well, 3 or 4 different formats, I should say. Because again, I don't know if I want to do questionably support yet, but you know, I'm still going to do all that because I feel like that's a good set of decks to build, if you will. Not good. It's not like obviously competitive or anything. It is all just for fun, to be fair, at the end of the day. But I figured I'd make all those anyway because, you know, those are interesting to me, if you will. It's something that I think is interesting, and I think is it's gonna be kind of fun, you know, to sort of play as gimmicky decks kind of thing. So yeah, that's the kind of thing I want to talk about. Obviously, Flame Swordsman, he's a non-effect monster, but he's not a normal monster because he's a fusion, obviously. So therefore, he would go in the questionably normal deck. He's a questionably normal monster because he isn't a normal monster, but he's questionably one because he's a non-effect monster, which all normal monsters are. You know, so he'd go in that one. You know, so there's that. And yeah, I think that's basically it. Then I think that's really it that I really wanted to just go over. So yeah, yeah. Oh, another thing I should go over actually real quick is that I don't know if I mentioned this before, but all these decks that I do, most of them, if not all of them, do have side decks as well. I just don't go into them because I want to go over the main deck. and I already do pretty much 40-minute videos. I'm already taking up a considerable amount of time, so I figured I might as well just not go through them. I mean, obviously today I'm only about half an hour now, and it's I've not. But then I did speedrun this deck. This deck I speedrun because it's a normal deck. It's not a lot to say. So I figured I'd bring this up and and because sometimes I do have like cards in the side deck that I kind of mention that I have, but I don't show them off obviously because they're in the side deck. But I figured I'd mention that anyway, and then maybe I'll show them off in a future video or something. I'm not sure. Alright, so yeah, that's really it that I wanted to talk about today. So I'll leave you there then on this long ramblings and yet short part of a deck profile. Alright, thanks for watching, and I hope you have a minky day.